Hi, my name is Mark Bernot, and I'm a PhD candidate in economics. In this video, I want to look at undocumented, illegal, or unauthorized immigration in the United States. I think it's a pretty hot issue. I think it's pretty relevant. And right now in the political discourse, we have a little bit of a seesaw going back. And there's a lot of facts being thrown out there that may or may not be true. So what I wanted to do is take a look at the data from actual sources. I've got here the Pew Research, FBI, CDC, Bureau of Economic Analysis, and the Bureau of Labor Statistics. So these are all sources that I quote. I'm going to look at the statistics, and I want to create some back-of-the-envelope calculations. These are not calculations like, and correlations like, vector autoregression models or time series data with large exogenous and endogenous variables accounted for. These are just back of the envelope. You can check me, double check me, and critique me on these, but I think they are telling, and they do tell a story. What's the story they tell? Well, let's look at this. We're going to look at a couple of gauges for societal effects of unauthorized immigrant population. We're going to look at violent crime, drug overdose. We're also going to look at two positive, and that would be real GDP and unemployment. Let's look at this unauthorized immigrant population. First thing you want to note is that it peaked out in 2007, 2008, and it's been decreasing ever since. We've had a little bit of an uptick in 2021, and then it looks like we're going down again in 2022. Can make a strong prediction about which way it will go, but my point being is there was a peak in 2007, 2008. What is the reason for that? Okay. Well, just putting it out there, the reason is there's a need. The United States has a demographic, we're entering a phase where the demographic actually shortage of labor. And I think you can see this, and it's manifested in lower unemployment rates. But, the boomers are retiring and leaving the workforce. And the back of it is on the millennials. So when we're looking at statistics, supply and demand, the market is just an amazing equilibrium, harmonizing mechanism, which creates this equilibrium. And if we have a shortage of workers, and a true shortage, particularly that the immigrants of unauthorized nature tend to work in things like agriculture or hotel work, cleaning hotels. And this is not something necessarily, let's say, a millennial just spent shot the moon and spend $100K on college and graduate school once to actually go, pick strawberries. This is not a negative connotation of unauthorized immigrants. It's just simply, this is the reality of the marketplace. And that's the second reason. Jake Bro, he did a thought experiment and said, what if we took a strong penalty of 6 months in jail, prison, for any employer that hires an illegal immigrant. And I bet you would see a lot of, decrease in the amount of immigrant population in the United States without any walls or additional things done by Border Patrol. And that kind of shows that it's really a demand question. They're demanding illegal immigrants to work in these sectors. And so we've got a pretty steady or maybe even slight decrease since 2007 population. This contradicts the images that the ranks of the United States, the United States is absolutely be overrun by illegal immigrants. Because it's really an economic situation. People come in, but also immigrants leave. Many people go back home. Nobody wants to be, from somebody who lived a good part of my life abroad, you feel kind of like a fish out of water or, a fish in a fishbowl. You really don't want to be living somewhere away from your family and connections forever. Maybe some people just come over the border, make money, they bring it back, they have enough money to build a house for their family, and then it's all set. So it's an interesting statistic that we see this decrease. Now let's look at its relation to violent crime. There's a claim out there that, these people are, a very negative connotations towards unauthorized immigrants. I do stand for legal immigration. Okay, I'll just put it out there, full disclaimer. But look at this. It's got a very weak negative correlation to violent crimes. That means the immigrants that are unauthorized, or maybe we could say that they're doing less violent crimes than the people who live here on a normal basis that are native born or naturalized. So that's a pretty interesting statistic. We can't make the claim that, oh, the unauthorized immigrants are creating this violent crime waves. It doesn't seem to be the case. But if you look at the correlation between drug use, and I used drug overdose as a proxy for drug use, I think there's a moderate correlation, I'd almost say strong correlation, between a violent crime rate and drug overdose. So maybe the violent crimes are being committed because, and this is based on personal experience that I see and people I know, they're so desperate to get that next fix, they'll do economic crimes, even if it's connected, coupled with violent crimes. And, you know, the users that I know personally, they're almost like desperate. You can see it in their eyes. They'll do anything. And believe it or not, I know some users personally, they'll do anything to get their fix. So, you know, to make an assertion that the immigrant population is swelling in the United States, that's first, it's not necessarily true. Second, we don't see a correlation. We actually see a negative correlation between illegals and violent crime, but we do see a positive correlation for drug overdoses. Maybe we ought to be dealing with that problem and seeing where the origin of that comes from. Now, you could spin a story and say, well, but I just don't see it in the correlations. Now, let's look at the positive. Unemployment we've got a strong negative correlation with unemployment, okay? And that means, you know, when unemployment is low, it tends to have more unauthorized workers. Why is that? I mean, the reason is because unauthorized workers and illegal immigrants, it's an economic issue, supply and demand. You know, if you're a free market, you believe just let the markets work. That's why Ronald Reagan, he was pretty lenient on giving a lot of amnesty to the unauthorized workers. And I'm not saying open the floodgates, because I clearly have stated that I'm for legal immigration. This is what the collective unconsciousness of the political process and the democracy of the United States has agreed upon. However, I'm saying they can't be, stereotyped as just a bad class if we can see clearly they're not connected. Maybe I've run this correlation incorrectly to violent crimes, and it's probably violent crimes are probably, again, correlation does not necessarily mean connection, or it doesn't necessarily flow this way, but violent crimes are more connected probably with the drug problem in the United States. And that is a separate issue than hardworking people wanting to come over. Why do I categorize these people as hardworking people? Because I suspect that a number of people I know are unauthorized immigrants from Latin America. And for various reasons, I know these people, and every single one, 100% have a job. Every single one is hardworking and trying to earn money for their family and clean cut and respectable. I don't know one that is what is trying to be, stereotyped in the media. So, you could also say real GDP growth and make a correlation, and maybe it'd be off a little bit. But remember, there's a little bit of a lag and lead factor in some of these. So that's why I classify this as a back of the envelope calculation. So we've got some pros and cons of illegal immigration. The pros is we get cheap labor, lower prices. You certainly like paying low prices at the store. Maybe that's being, derailed by monetary policy trajectory, but it looks like the prices are starting to come down again, and that's a positive sign. It solves the labor shortage, and there's some studies back in, it looks like in National Academy of Science and Engineering Medicine found that unauthorized workers actually give a little spike to GDP growth, so we could say increased growth, even though my correlation was a slight weak negative correlation here. They probably factored in other things and did a more complex model. And then, this is basically self-correcting. Here's a really important point. Mexico is most of the people coming in. It's like 49%, 48%. And it's self-correcting because wages in Mexico, real wages are rising so rapidly that this illegal, we're going to have trouble even getting people from Mexico in, believe it or not. I know Americans moving to Mexico for some reason. Maybe, they work, they live there. They do these things, they obtain citizenship, and maybe it's because of something called Adam Smith called the market. Free movement of labor and capital is self-correcting. As wages go up in Mexico and as we onshore more businesses, I bought all Maytag appliances. Every single one is made in the United States, except for some, I think one was made in Mexico. We onshore this away from Asia. Real wages in Mexico and Latin America are increasing, and there's less incentive for people to leave. And, people don't want to leave their homes. They want to stay with their family. So it is a self-correcting problem. So the higher wage argument, that the con of it is that these people compete with Americans. But here's a study in Journal of Economics Perspective 2018 found that it actually increases the wages of Americans when you have more unauthorized immigrants. So again, that's that a little bit of a negative correlation going there in a positive way, positive impact. Maybe a con is it legally distorts the agreed upon demographics that if we say we want so many people from England and so many people from Germany in, we don't want this many people from Latin America through the congressional process of defining the legal immigration. It distorts that. And again, I'm always for legal. And maybe a negative is that there's a cost for vetting people, to make sure that they are good actors and they're not bad actors. So my point of this video is unauthorized immigration is potentially a problem, but it seems to be going away, self-correcting. And second of all, it doesn't seem to be like this red alert, high alert, red flag crisis that's going to overwhelm and destroy America. It seems to be adding, based on the evidence, statistical evidence, back of the envelope, or more in-depth studies, they seem to be contributing to the economy, making our lives better. So what's the solution? Is I think we go the road of self-correction. Self-correction and de-emphasizing this as an issue. Maybe it's an issue now because the economy is so hot. Look at this real growth rate and unemployment rate. This, for whatever you can say, the economy is doing so well that this United States of America, there's not many issues for the GOP to really harp on. So they're going to go back to, categorizing and stereotyping unauthorized immigrant population. I bet you'd be surprised that a lot of predominant politicians of the GOP, and I do align more politically with the GOP. I'm not a registered to any party, but I'm a Ronald Reagan conservative. I would say that I bet if you trace it and did some fact checking, a lot of their ancestry may have come here undocumented. Okay, there's parts of America, certainly my ancestors came here, and I think they were documented, but they're just swelling over in boats and they're just coming in and boom, boom. And I bet you would find that back in the family history, like there's an expression, we all have pirates and kings in our family ancestry. I bet you would find that. So unauthorized immigrant population seems to be decreasing and not connected with some negative gauges in society, but is connected with positive gauges in societies. And it's a self-correcting mechanism based on real wages and free movement of labor and capital. And if you truly are a free market person, and I believe that I am, at least in a moderate way, you would be de-emphasizing this as an issue. And maybe there's a more important, like let's say an international issue, specifically Ukraine, Russia, that is a higher level issue. And I invite you to explore that. So this is my take on the unauthorized immigrant population in the United States based on statistics from a PhD candidate. Thank you very much. Have a great day.